Alright, commentary here for another ladder match replay. This is between two very highly rated players, Zlo and Zoc. Zlo is red player playing as UEF, and Zoc is the blue player playing a Cybran. So a little reversal of the traditional colors. And this is a pretty small, well, it's not that tiny. This map is hollow. The UEF player, of course, starting with the land factory. It's next to his mass extractor so that it's a little more efficient early. It's only really punished, both players are doing the same thing here. That only really punishes you late game and usually normally only on large maps where you'd want to be building mass storage next to those for extra income once you've upgraded those extractors. But in the early game it's really important to have your factories efficient. Producing more quickly, producing at the cost of your resources. This engineer coming out to assist. So this is a pretty standard type of build. Land build. A factory, 2 power plants, 2 mass extractors. So you got a little reclaim off on the way here, I think. Then the engineer is being sent up to build 3 mass points and then reclaim attack. I wonder if that's because he expects to see an engineer here or because there's stuff. No, there's a pile of stuff. Oh, so very distinct 4 patches on this map, I see. And the hydrocarbon power plant spots are very far away from the bases and highly exposed, so it's going to be... Oh, okay, there is a close one for each base, and then there's a contestable one. Zlo hasn't yet gone for his hydrocarbon. Neither player has, actually. I thought that this force was actually an engineer, but it's not. It's a little harassing force of tier 1 light assault bots and a mole to scout, so that they can see where the engineers are. Very, very, very important to include that very cheap, quick to build land scout with harassing forces. If you don't already have air cover, air scouting, or radar intelligence, it's very important. Not just so that you know what the targets of opportunity are, but also so that you can extend the effective range of your weapons. Because a lot of tier 1 assault bots, this isn't true for, but a lot of units have longer firing range than their visual radius. So they can fire at units that are further away if they have some way to see them, and bring along a scout is an important way to do that. Here you see actually he splits off 1 scout and 1 assault bot going in each direction. These Cybran units are pretty fast, of course. All assault bots are fast. This might be an error. This engineer has the do not build order. So this is a very, very, very damaged light assault bot. Is he going to get an engineer kill? If Zlo is paying attention, he should be able to reclaim the bot pretty easily. He runs. Oh, he's going to get the kill, I think. Alright. So that bot was worth its cost. And the other bot in the north also picking off a kill. These light assault bots don't really have the firepower to, on their own, be a real threat to a 600 health mass pump. And this one in the north is being driven off now by Zlo's own pair of scout and, in this case, a tank, a striker, so much heavier duty than the assault bot. Even though UEF does get what is arguably the best of the tier 1 assault bots, or light assault bots rather, labs, people sometimes call them. Air scouts out from Zoc. So he's going to see where the expansion's been going on, although he's already been able to see that so far. He's about to lose his scouts though. He's hiding a mole, so he did activate the cloaking on both these moles. So they are hidden. With a tiny energy drain of 5 energy per tick, it's absolutely worth it to have good information. So the light assault bot is actually so fast and keeps moving that this striker hasn't been able to kill it yet. The striker's a lot more expensive. Neither is all that expensive, but striker's a lot more mass because it's not an assault bot, it's a true tank. Alright, so scouts and a bomber out now from Zoc on the way to harass. 3 interceptors out from Zlo, though. He expects some air nonsense, and you can also use interceptors as pretty effective scouts, especially on a map this small. So I understand skipping the scout of your own because you think you might be behind in the air game and need the defense, and in this case that's probably correct. Well, the bomb is coming in undetected though, or detected but undefended. Let's see what Zlo can see here. This scout is occasionally getting vision of it. Here it comes. It looks like while microing the bomber, Zoc sort of stopped paying attention to his light assault bot and lost that. So these interceptors are going to close in on the bomb if they can catch it before it gets back to base. It does look like Zlo should take temporary control of the air here, although he may not actually get the bomber. No? It's hard. Yeah. There's no ground to air here. So he doesn't actually have to rush on taking the bomber, and indeed, yeah, he just takes his time killing the interceptors first, knowing now that the bomber can't really threaten him. Light assault bot just scouting down here, hoping for more free engineer picks, but that's not happening. Some of the land spam is out from both sides, though. This striker that was unable to catch the assault bot earlier until Zoc stopped microing it is getting a really nice scouting and harassing run by. He might even kill, probably not both. No, not both these Manuses. Those are Manuses now, not just light assault bots, so much heavier duty. Two of them will definitely be able to chase down and tank because they're faster. And although 1v1 they may not be able to win, 2v1 absolutely. And behind this harassment, of course, and this is always important, while you're expanding through a punch, while you're throwing a punch expand, unless you're at an all-in stage, you want to be presenting a question while you do things at home, essentially, so that your opponent has less time to harass you and less time to scout you and figure out what's going on. These players are both very strong, closely rated players, though, so let's see what happens. Alright, so that bomber is finally going to drop. He does not actually end up killing the mass extractor down here, just does 150 damage to it. That's pretty sad. A light assault bot finally goes down in the way back of Zlo's base from Zoc. It's a small enough map that it's not that strange, but still. And you can see the land spam coming off in both directions, splitting off from the bases. Is this just on engineer duty? No, those are making Manuses. Oh, it's assisting the factory. Okay, so simultaneous pushes on both fronts here, in order to make it hard to handle, of course. This is a good example of throwing a punch and then doing something somewhere else. In this case, not at home, but on the other side of the map, but making it harder to answer everything up, even though in theory it could be. So one bomber should clear things up in the north here. Well, it didn't drop. It got a bad angle of approach and didn't drop its bomb. But because there's no mobile anti-air up here, oh, the interceptors are coming though. Because not getting that first bomb off actually matters quite a bit here. Because these strikers may not be enough to actually kill this group of Mantis without another bomb. Although, yeah, okay, he moves in this interceptors to guard. He saw it coming. Another harassing group coming down the front. Menaces are just so fast, as far as most early ground units go. Commander's building a point defense. He's trying to hold his ground in the front. He's really trying to take a grip on the northern choke point with his commander, and then I guess Zlo's commander here in the south is going to try to drive out this small base that's relatively recently constructed, I think. Can't be that recent because a single engineer doesn't have the build power to do it super quickly. Yeah, the point defense is going to go down very efficiently to this artillery. The commander doesn't have to get involved. And then he can march in if he wants to. He has the micro to do it. Expanding to his southern base, or to his southern mass point, but that's going to be very hard to defend without the commander here against this amount of T1 spam. Zoc slightly ahead on, well, no, similar mass counts. Zlo just caught up. But Zoc with a lot more map control here, a lot more units down. He's got power generators at random spots on the map, just because he needs the power, but and he doesn't want to concentrate them where they can be easily targeted by bombs and other harassment. But the fact that he's able to drop them so near to the middle is a bad sign for Zlo, unless he's able to turn it, of course, and use the open space to clear out a bunch of extra structures. There's northern pushes coming in. Should be able to wipe out these tanks because of the way the branches are getting the run by. Yeah. The tanks were lined up in a bad way, so the ones in the back couldn't fire at the ones that the ones in the front were trying to fire at. So the effective unit differential was greater there. This drop goes out and then comes back in. Doesn't feel safe here. I think maybe he was just intending this, but I don't think so. I think he wanted to drop further up. Although that said, okay, yeah, he's dropping as a point defense now. Maybe that was his plan all the time, although he hoped to do it further up. Yeah, they're not even going to get the front walls off completely. Well, okay, that one PD will be enough. They're going to lose the mass point. You may not need all those extra point points. Whoa! I did not expect that, and then out of nowhere... No, not really out of nowhere, actually. So while being harassed in his home base, the push on the south killed Slow, who was trying to hold the south. Jeez. The T1 land spam was too much. He was hoping he could hold it with just his ACU, and he just couldn't. But look at this state after all the red units are moved from the map. I mean, he just lost map control completely. He didn't have enough ground presence. And why is that? I guess a lot of it is because the early pairs of light assault bots and scouts from Zoc, those were able to pick off a couple of key engineers and get some good info, and they were able to stay cloaked there for a long time. So he kept having good intel. The bomber from Zlo didn't do enough damage. The first bomber just died without doing anything, which is terrible. It like hit a mass point right once. And then the second bomber missed some key bombs on incoming land spam. He never really quite had enough interceptors to, at various points, to make it safe to spam extra bombers. He kept needing enough to produce more interceptors, so you couldn't get a critical mass of bombers to kill some sort of heavier building. So even though, for the most part, at the very end he started mixing some anti-air, but for the most part Zoc's forces didn't have any mobile anti-air in them. So bombers and gunships would be a good way to counter that. He just couldn't quite afford to put the mass and energy into that. And the ones that he did get weren't that effective. He needed more land spam on a map this big, I guess.